Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center in Pflugerville. And we're talking today about the foundation. And just to give you an overview, this week I was down at the property, our church property. You know the one we're going to build that building on there? And the gas company was putting in a line for the property behind us. And they had a trench dug at least 20 feet long. And that trench was about 5-6 feet deep. And then they had a big hole right in the middle where they made a junction. That thing had to have been 8 feet, because when I came up and looked down, there were 4 men down there and you couldn't see them. So you had to come over the edge to look. So it was down a piece, okay? Now what's interesting is when I looked at that, because they had dug it out so you could see the sides of the dirt all the way down. And one of the interesting things that occurred is after 3 or 4 foot, everywhere I looked, there was rock. Now, I think they call it here caliche or whatever it is, but it was a good solid rock, not granite, but a rock. Now, guess what? The foreman I was talking to, he came over and he wouldn't know who I was. You know, you can imagine somebody wandering around looking official. And we started talking about it, and I said, look at the rock down there. He said, yeah, it's everywhere on this property. So, get this. Where we are, 3 or 4 foot, maybe 2 foot. Tommy says sometimes on the surface, because when he mows, he hits rocks, okay? But can you imagine the foundation that our church is going to have? Because you go down 2, 3, 4 foot, and you hit solid rock. So our church building is going to be on solid rock. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm not much of a construction expert, but I do know solid rock is a good place to be, especially when you have clay soils here that move a lot. Okay, I can remember up in North Texas, we were in a field, and you had to keep the perimeter of the house moist so it didn't move. So I'm excited about the foundation that is there. So, in life, there's other metaphors. So we've got a metaphor for our church building is going to be on solid rock and strong and staying there for years. So, I happened to look up, I'm going to read the Bible, I've got it ready. And in the Bible, it talks about a foundation too. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And the foundation we're going to talk about is in Luke chapter 6. And it's Jesus talking about what makes things work. So let me describe first here. It says in Luke, we'll start in 47. Every person who comes to me and hears my words and does them. Now I want you to get that. Somebody that does the work. Are you there? I'm going to say it again. Somebody that comes, hears it, and actually does what's required. Okay? Then it goes on and says, my words and does them, I will show him what he is like. And he is like a person who built a house and dug deep and laid its foundations upon the rock. And when the flood came, it beat upon the house, and it could not shake it, for its foundation was laid upon a rock. Anybody see a metaphor? And he's talking about us. He's talking about each one of us in our spiritual path. So how do we make life work? I was really interested in Madeline's meditation because she was talking about the lifestyle. She was talking about abundance. She was talking about health. She was talking about relationships that work. She was talking about things being happy. And so there's a foundation to those ideas. Everybody got it? And that's what Jesus is talking about. How do I live a lifestyle that works for me and for my family and everybody else? And so I'll say it again. He is like a person who built a house and dug deep and laid its foundation upon the rock. And when the flood came, anybody familiar with floods? We've had a few around us. Okay? And it's devastating. It really is. And hurricanes and winds and all that kind of stuff. But when you build a foundation, it's there for theoretically forever, because if you really understand, concrete is really nothing more than earth mixed into a rock-like environment, and then it becomes part of the rock that it's laid upon. So we're going to drill down piers. We'll go down, what, Tommy, 3-4 foot and lay piers on the rock. And the church will be on a solid foundation. Now, for me, that's a metaphor that the church is on the foundation of spirit, God, truth. And the truth is, each one of us is a child of God. Each one of us is an expression of God. Each one is God expressing itself here in the physical world, bringing energies from the spirit world or spiritual world into this world and manifesting good. See, the question is, how does God get things done? He's got to work through you. He's got to work through us. And some people have gifts that they do this. Great musicians, great writers, great poets, great engineers, great scientists, great speakers. Where do they get their inspiration from? Inspiration means is spirit within. So each one of us has that spirit that is waiting to come out. So it's an inspirational kind of thing. And whatever you're doing, what are you doing and how are you doing it and why are you doing it and what's your purpose for doing it? And those are the questions we ask. So it's really fascinating. Now, let me know, I'm going to go here back to Luke 6:43. Okay, now the idea behind it is Jesus used the metaphor of the tree. And he used the metaphor of a tree gives forth its fruit in its own kind. In other words, every tree gives forth what it is designed to give. So an apple tree is going to grow apples. It's not going to grow lemons. It's not going to grow oranges. So he uses the metaphor of trees. And in verse 42, it says, wait, there it is, 43. There is no good tree that bears bad fruit. So a tree that bears good fruit is not going to bear bad fruit. Got it? And if any of you have ever been around an orchard, you know certain trees do real well. Up in North Texas, we had a peach orchard up there. We had 21 trees. And you could tell, we knew which trees were going to have the biggest, best peaches. It was like year after year. Now, they had to be taken care of. And they had to be pruned, which is part of our job. But each tree, each year, gave off its fruit. And guess what? There were some trees that didn't give any fruit. Now, we didn't take it down, but Jesus said get rid of it, okay? So a tree bears its fruit. So, and he says here, verse 43, for every tree is known by its own fruit. For they do not pick figs from thistles, nor gather grapes from a bramble bush. A good person brings out good things from the good treasure of their heart. And their heart is metaphor for that inner spirit, where we are, where you express yourself from. So you see the body, see, it's amazing to me. I just love going into it. And I'm starting to understand it, believe it or not, after all this time. And you need some background. Valerie and I were talking about the history of the Bible is amazing, and really it helps to understand the history of what's being said on top of the words that are being spoken. So the idea is Jesus always spoke in metaphors. But please understand, when he was talking to people, he was not talking to people like you. Because most of you can read and write, yes? And you understand English or some other languages, so you have a context in which to understand things. But the people he was talking to couldn't speak, couldn't write, couldn't read, they couldn't do those things. And they lived very, very simple farmer life. So he had to talk in metaphors that made sense to whom he was speaking to. And these metaphors are real simple, and if we just bring those metaphors into our world, we understand what he was saying. And it wasn't mystical, it wasn't anything other than practical, everyday stuff for them to understand how to live a happy life. So, you ready? We'll do it again. For every tree is known by its own fruit. They do not pick figs from thistles, nor gather grapes from bramble bushes. So the idea is whatever's in your heart expresses itself as the fruit in your life. So whatever you are thinking, whatever you are living, whatever you are being, is what manifests out in your world. Simple concept. Don't like it exactly because something happens to me. I want to go, I didn't do that. It's okay. And it goes on. He says, why do you call me Lord, my Lord, and I do not know what to say? Every man who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. So again, Jesus is saying, if you do what I say to do, these are the things that's going to happen for you, like me. Very, very interesting concept. Amazing concept if you really think about it. Okay, now I like the word house. I had to look up revealing word in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And I looked up the word house, H-O-U-S-E. And it says the house that God builds and dwells is in your body or in man's body. Can I say it again? The house that God builds is and dwells in your person's body, in your human body. Know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? 1 Corinthians 6:19. The body temple, for we are temple of the living God. 2 Corinthians. And it goes on and on and on. So everywhere we look, the body is a temple of the living God, and the metaphor of the house is God has built, and you are God expressing itself from your holy temple. And he also said, kingdom of heaven is within, yes, which means literally everything we're looking for is already there. Tommy keeps reminding me all the time, I don't have to do that because it's already done, if I believe it. Okay? And that's the tough one. So, the key to it is, we must follow the path. Now, I don't know about you, I'm going to make a confession. Everybody ready for this? I have joined gyms. As a matter of fact, in the past, probably joined 4 or 5 gyms. I have a silver slipper membership put down. Yes? I've never used it. So, you can say all you want to. You can join everything you want to. You can attend all of the workshops you want to. You can tell me that I did this, and you did that, and we did this. It doesn't matter, because membership doesn't count. It's doing the work. Because if I'm going to get better and more fit, if you will, what must I do? I got to go use the cotton picking gym. Yes? Yes. Okay, so it's a beautiful metaphor. And I'm sorry. Okay? Because really, when I look at it, usually when something happens for me, and I don't know about you, but something I have to look at. Because by their fruits ye shall know them, which means literally what's happening in my life is created from within me, not outside of me. And that's the story. We share that idea once, many, many times in different contexts. But the idea is, and Jesus said, that by their fruits ye shall know them. So what kind of life am I leading? What's happening? Do I have enough money? Now, not bushels of money, although that's possible, but enough to live comfortably, do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, when I want to do it. See, and that, to me, that's prosperity. Prosperity is being around folks like you that I love and want to be with, and not being around, isolating myself sometimes from the politics. See, I did it, okay? And the idea behind this whole thing is, Jesus was asked, how do I know when somebody is in spirit? His answer was, by their fruits you shall know them. So how do I know things are working for me? How's my life? How are my friends? How's my marriage? How's my health? How's my wealth? You know, and it's like I can even make a list. Madeline suggested yesterday to the folks, in tapping, by the way, tapping is one of those tools that works. Okay, it really, really releases the stuff in. So she wanted people to make a list of all the problems. Do you understand? Why? So I can look at my fruits and decide what I want to change. Because unfortunately, we really, really get lost in the woods sometimes. And it's always somebody else's fault. She did this to me, he did this to me. She doesn't love me anymore, he did that. My next door neighbor did this. That guy that's president did this. The one that's running Congress did that. And so we're always blaming somebody else for our issues when Jesus, our master teacher, said, by their fruits ye shall know them. Now, I'm really getting into it. Because I look at it, and we do it. I want to blame Madeline for everything sometimes, okay? And if you're really honest, would you agree you have somebody that you blame? You can blame kids, you can blame your mother. My mother made me fat, and we can do all that stuff, okay? And the idea behind it is the kingdom of heaven is within. How much more is there to say? All of a sudden I'm aware there isn't that much more to say. I do know that I heard in Madeline's meditation at the end, what she said was, wake up, you ready? Wake up into the only good of spirit in all areas of our lives. So it's waking up and understanding the kingdom of heaven is within and starting on a spiritual path and getting serious about it. Now this is where we are. In other words, we've been teaching meditation. A lot of you have been in centering prayer. A lot of you have been trained in other things, Kriya Yoga, mindfulness meditation in the Buddhist area. But you can go to class, but again, every day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. Reading a book, taking a class. SEE classes with Unity are amazing. Valerie, every Sunday she comes in and says, did you know that? Because she's in the middle of a class and it's exciting, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at that, I didn't know that. But it keeps you grounded, remember this phrase, grounded in the Word of God. Now, when I say the Word of God, I mean the idea that God is everywhere present. And you can do it in the Bible, you can do it in whatever. Okay, but doing that daily and knowing, even getting in a tapping class the next time, learning how to do this dumb stuff like this to get rid of upsets, yes. And there's tools. The other one is Ho'oponopono. Yes, B. Yes. Okay, now everybody has their techniques that feel good, but for goodness sakes, get a hold of something and do it every day. Because every day the junk comes at you, yes? Yes. And the TV's on and it's going everywhere. So all this is happening here, why don't we balance it with something good over here? So that's my plea, if you will. Because my heart aches sometimes about, I see people struggling because when I really believe they don't have to. Okay? And the amount of human upset and the amount of human tragedy that's occurring now. And would it occur? I can't answer that. I don't know. But I do know that people would figure out a way around it once it occurs. Because God is always present. The answer is always present. And it's up to me to be open to that conversation. So the kingdom of heaven is within. Wake up into only good, the good of spirit in all areas of our lives. And I'm going to do that. At least I'm working on it. I love you. Thank you. I wish we could go on, but I'm not going to do that.